In September 2025, as the Toronto Film Festival opened, many expected a celebration of art and cinema. But when Prime Minister Carney stepped to the microphone, his words carried a deeper weight. He transformed the premiere of a John Candy documentary into a stage for diplomatic resistance. Without naming Trump directly, Carney reminded the world that Canada's sovereignty and independence were not negotiable. This was the birth of what global media quickly called Candy diplomacy, a mix of comedy, culture, and politics rolled into one. Carney began by recalling John Candy's films, where the comedian often played characters who laughed, endured, but always pushed back when pushed too far. "Don't push a Canadian too far," he warned, with a smile. Everyone in the hall knew the reference was aimed at Donald Trump's trade tariffs and his remarks about Canada becoming the 51st state. The audience erupted in laughter and applause. Carney had cleverly sent a tough diplomatic message using humor. By invoking Candy's legacy, he turned a film festival into a powerful stand for Canadian pride, cultural independence, and economic sovereignty. The reaction inside Roy Thomson Hall was electric. Hollywood stars like Ryan Reynolds and Colin Hanks stood nearby as Carney declared that John Candy represented the real Canadian spirit, friendly, humorous, but firm when boundaries were threatened. He reminded Canadians that cultural independence was tied directly to economic strength, drawing a line against Trump's tariffs. This was more than a speech. It was cultural diplomacy in action. Carney's words reached not just Canadians but the global media, framing Canada as a country that resisted with humor, not hostility. The standing ovation proved the moment had made history. Canadian newspapers quickly coined the phrase, "Candy diplomacy." Headlines celebrated the speech with lines like "Sweet resistance" and "Carney sweetens Canada's stand." Political cartoonists portrayed Carney dressed as John Candy, offering maple syrup to Trump. Social media exploded with hashtags like #CandyDiplomacy and #StandLikeJohn. TikTok users recreated Candy's iconic movie scenes to mock Trump's threats. A giant mural in Ottawa showed Candy holding a maple leaf flag with the caption, "Don't push us too far." Canada had found a way to turn soft power, humor, and culture into a weapon more effective than angry rhetoric. The ripple effects spread fast. Netflix and Amazon launched John Candy collections, with classics like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Canadian bacon breaking streaming record. Breweries introduced Candy Diplomacy maple syrup beer, while Niagara Falls was lit in red and white. Canadian youth proudly embraced this cultural revival, seeing Candy not just as a comedian but a symbol of resistance. By blending entertainment with politics, Carney had sparked a wave of cultural pride. What began as a film screening had transformed into a movement defending Canadian sovereignty against Trump's economic pressure, uniting citizens with laughter and patriotism. Across the border, Trump's administration was rattled. Intelligence reports described Carney's move as a pre-planned diplomatic strike. Some Pentagon officials even warned that cultural diplomacy could be more dangerous than sanctions because it swayed global opinion. Trump, furious at being mocked at a film festival, threatened to raise tariffs on Canada to 50%. His advisors, however, urged caution. John Candy was beloved in the US too, and attacking Canada harder could backfire politically. Trump vented on Truth Social, "Canada should do business, not watch movies." But the damage was done. Carney had already won the soft power battle. International media seized on the story. The Guardian called it Canada's sweet diplomacy, while the New York Times headlined, "Carney weaponizes Canadian comedy." From London to Tokyo, analysts praised Canada for resisting a superpower with humor. Even China's Xinhua praised cultural diplomacy as a tool for small nations. Carney's approach showed that soft power diplomacy could challenge Trump's economic bullying without sparking direct conflict. By cleverly linking Canada's culture, humor, and sovereignty, Carney turned a film festival into a global stage for resistance. The world was watching, and most were applauding Canada's creative stand. Domestically, the impact was massive. Polls showed Carney's popularity jumping by 8 points nationwide, even in Quebec where federal leaders usually struggled. 82% of Canadians rejected Trump's 51st state rhetoric, compared to 74% before the speech. More than two-thirds said cultural independence mattered as much as economic independence. John Candy's family praised Carney, saying their father would be proud to represent Canada in this way. From beer labels to Netflix streams, Candy's face became the unexpected banner of resistance. Canada had discovered a new formula: defend sovereignty not with threats, but with laughter, culture, and pride. Prime Minister Carney's bold experiment proved that diplomacy doesn't always need force or anger. Sometimes, a joke can carry more weight than a speech at the United Nations. By turning John Candy into a symbol of sovereignty, Canada sent a clear message: it will resist pressure, whether economic, political, or cultural. This was Candy diplomacy, sweet, funny, but powerful. And if you want to keep following stories where politics collides with history and culture, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Geopolitics Daily, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next update.